Hello, today I will be doing a tutorial on how to animate with objects. The first thing to note is that if you're trying to use an in-game object such as a chair or a table, this needs to be turned into a cast accessory in order to animate it. To do this, I followed Cookie's tutorial. I'm sorry if that's not how it's pronounced. I'll put a link to that video in the description. I will also show you how I converted a chair into an accessory. If you already know how to do this, then there are timestamps on screen and in the description that you can skip to see the animation part of this tutorial where I show you how to animate with the object. Here is the package file that I used. It looks a bit odd, but the chair is aligned with the sim in a way that allows you to animate with it. I'll explain how that works further into the video. Here you can see that there are 21 available color swatches. These are all of the swatches for the base game chair. There's another time on screen right here to skip to if you want to learn about this. Let's begin. For this tutorial, you need to have Sims 4 Studio, Blender, Photoshop, the object you want to convert, and a blank mesh package. In Cookie's tutorial, I'm just gonna pronounce it as Cookie, she has what is called a hat mesh reference, and I'll be using this for the demonstration. Any mesh will work for this as long as you can remove the original object from it, in this case her water bottle. In other words, it has to be an accessory and not something that's bound or confined to the sim, like earrings or something. First things first, in Sims 4 Studio, I went to Object and clicked on Create 3D Mesh. I found the item that I want to convert into a cast accessory, the Mega Dining Chair in this case. There's only one color swatch, but we'll get to that later. Just export the mesh. Next, I'm going to open the hat mesh reference and export the mesh for that. Opening this, you see a female sim rig and a water bottle. Click on File, Append, the chair mesh, Object, and then the objects mesh. I am importing the chair from the chair mesh file. You only need the chair, so I will delete the bones and rig here and anything else that is added with the mesh. I'm also deleting the water bottle mesh. We don't need it. While I'm at it, I will align the chair to where I want it to be. If you're working with a small object, you may want to place it in a hand. Since the chair is so big, it will later be connected to the pelvis bone. Hence why I'm moving it here. In the past, I've made a rocking chair to an accessory and placed the arm into the hand, so that works too. It's just preference, whatever you want to do. Now that you have the object where you want it, the file name of the chair mesh needs to be changed. Just double click on it, remove the 0.001 and hit enter. It should have the words mesh 1 in it. If it doesn't, then change it to say Sims 4 Studio mesh 1. Now you want to go to edit mode and press A to select everything. Down here you can see this symbol is called the scene. You want to go to this. Here we're going to change the cast tool type to Geon. After that, change the cut number to 0000. These steps are important to follow. Cookie has explained why that is and how this works if you want to check her video out. The next thing we have to do is very important. We need to assign the object to a bone so that it will move with our sim. There are two ways to find the specific bone name. You can go to the search bar here and type a word to find it. Here I am typing pelvis to find the pelvis. Double click and copy it. The other method is to go to this page that lists all sim joints and bones. You can find the name there as well. Whichever method you choose, you want to copy the designated bone, then go over to the triangle here. Switch to edit mode and delete the transform bone under vertex group. We don't need it. Instead, we'll create a new vertex group and paste the bone that was copied. Then you must click on Assign to assign the object to this bone. You need to do this. Our object should now move with the assigned bone. Test it out. Now, if you're working with a hand rig, this works 100%, easy peasy. When it comes to some other bones, well, let's just say that I sat here for a while trying to figure it out. In order for it to work, I had to fiddle with the object modifier. It was showing as red here, so I went to Object and selected Rig. It works now. If your object isn't moving with your rig, then you need to do this step. Okay, now that your object is moving with the rig, it's time to adjust the UV map. This is tricky if you aren't familiar with the process, but I'll walk you through how to do it. First, drag out a section in Blender. I already have one here. Click on UV, switch to edit mode and make sure the object is selected. Now we need to import a UV map. This is a guide as to where to place the original object's UV. In order for the object to appear correctly in game, it has to be placed in a certain category. In this case, the hat one. Hovering over the UV box, make sure the chair is highlighted. Now, I'm going to press R and then type 90. This rotates the UV so that it can fit in the box. Hit enter to confirm. Where you place the UV now depends on what type of accessory you want to make. If you want it to be found in the necklace section of casts, put it in necklace. Some of the boxes are really small, so it's easier to put it in the hat category. Hit S now to scale the UV down. You'll notice that the chair texture on the sim is changing, which we'll fix later. Hit G to grab and move the object into the hat box. Now, if you're using a laptop, for those of you who do, which I do, this step is much easier to do if you have a mouse plugged in. That is the only way to zoom in and move the screen around so you can see what you're doing. Trust me, a mouse is very helpful to have. It's a pain to do this without one. That is done. Now we need to export the UV layout. We are done with Blender. You can save the file and close it. Back in Sims 4 Studio, open the original hat mesh reference package. Now that we have the chair mesh and all of that, we can import this into the package. You want to do this for all visible LODs and then save it. Open up the chair package where you got the chair mesh. This time we're going to export the texture. Now launch Photoshop and open two things, the chair texture and the chair UV that we created. Drag the texture onto the UV, then select Ctrl T to transform the texture. What we want to do here is align it with the UV, so you'll want to rotate, scale, and move the texture. On the right, you can change the opacity so it's easier to see where it needs to be. In this version of Photoshop, I can hold Shift to snap the image to the edges of the UV, so changing opacity isn't needed, but if you need to do it, you can. When it's done, press Enter. Now this is done, so save it as a PNG. Back in Sims 4 Studio, in the Hat Mesh reference package, you can now import the mesh you just saved. The object should be fully textured. In Cookie's video, she explains the different kinds of masks like shadow and specular. It needs to look like mine does here. If it doesn't, you can create a blank one to use. Make any adjustments needed to the color swatch and tags, and then you are done. You have a working cast accessory. Earlier, I showed you the package I made with all 21 chair swatches. I'll quickly show you how I got those. In the studio, select Standalone Recolor and find the object. It will prompt you to save a file, which you can just delete later since we don't need it. In the Texture tab, proceed to export the texture for every single swatch, or just the ones you want. Now, you need to import all of these into Photoshop as well as the modified UV and texture PNG. This part can be very time consuming. The fastest way to do it is to drag all the textures to the UV image and align all of them at the same time, then save them individually. However you choose to do this, the goal is to end up with a PNG that looks like this. All of them need to look like this. So that's how you get more color options for your accessory. Okay, at last I will explain the animation process. How this works depends on the animation you wish to make. If the animation is of a sim waving a broom or something around, then all you need is one rig that you can animate with the binded accessory. You can animate this as normal and you're done. However, if your item is a chair or something that is thrown or detached from the sim at some point, then you need two rigs. One is the item and the other is the sim. Here, you can see there are two different rigs. The chair is bound to this one. Meanwhile, the main sim does not have a chair attached to it. Essentially, you want to edit both of those rigs in whichever pose or animation desired. It's a normal pose but with two separate rigs. You can just copy and paste the keyframes. For the sake of time, I will not be explaining how to make an animation. There are other tutorials for this and I can make one if requested. Instead, I'll explain how having two sim rigs works. This is made possible by having mods that make your sim invisible. You need these. I'll put links in the description to download them. The rig that has the object bound to it, in this case a chair, is going to be the one with an invisible sim. So in the game, you need to make two sims. One is invisible and wearing the object. The other is a regular sim with no object. It's easier to watch this than explain it. In the game now, you need to have the teleport sim mod as well as pose player. Most people do have this. If you make animations or you download them, then you have it. Place two teleporters on the same square and summon the sims to them. In order for the animations to be in sync, hit play real quick and then pause the game. Sometimes they're not in sync, but this is a quick fix for that. It doesn't always work, so you might have to restart and try again. Select your animations for the appropriate sim. There should be two, one for the invisible sim with the object and one without. Hitting play, both animations should now play out as one clean animation. And that's how it's done. Thank you for watching. I hope this tutorial was helpful. You can follow this to convert any in-game object to a cast accessory and create animations with it. In addition, everything you need will be linked in the description below, and Cookie's video has a link to download the hat mesh reference. I highly recommend checking that out. Leave a comment if you have any questions. That's all for now though. Bye!